All right, folks, so thank you so much for taking the time to be with us again. My name is Jamie Jimenez. I'm the marketing specialist over at WAV. And today we've partnered with Baicells to talk CBRS. We're going to talk compliance, fears, upgrades, things to be mindful of. And before I kick things off here, just some housekeeping rules. Everyone here is automatically set to mute. That way we don't hear children fighting, dogs barking, anyone watching Tiger King in the background. You know how it goes. So if at any point during the webinar, if you have any questions that come up, please utilize the questions tab within GoToWebinar. At the end, we're going to allocate 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A, where one of the panelists, Max, marketing at Baicells, will read them off to the panelists who will be answering those questions. So everything will be on mute. Please utilize the questions tab. The other thing to keep in mind is you all will have an opportunity for a chance to win 1 Nova 227 and 2 Halo B keys. Now, how do I win that? You got to pay attention to the webinar. It's very easy to just kind of listen in the background and tune things out, but there will be a clue during the webinar, and at the end, we're going to ask a question, and the first person to submit a response through the chat function within GoToWebinar wins the Nova 227 and the 2 Halo B keys. So please pay close attention so that you've got a chance of winning that item. So with that, before I turn things over to the Baicells team, you know, who is WAV? What do we do? If you're not familiar with us, I'm just going to very quickly speak to who we are and what we do. So as far as WAV, we're a value-added distributor on the indoor and infrastructure side of the house. And most people, when they think distributors, they think of essentially the middleman, you know, the go-between, the folks who peddle boxes who I have to go to get my product. And, you know, while there is some truth to that, I think that there's so much more that we can offer, because really for us, we don't get excited just engaging in a transaction or selling you a product. What we really aspire to do, and what this is all about, is helping you solve problems, helping you find solutions to connectivity issues, helping you scale your business, connect the unconnected. That's really what drives us. That's what we're passionate about. And I think as far as all of the other distributors, I think that there are 3 distinct ways in which we demonstrate that passion, and we can really partner with you to scale your business. So I'll just speak to those things real quick. So number 1, I just want to tell you about our supply chain and logistics position. We've got the largest and most consistent inventory in the industry. That's WAV and Last Mile Gear, subsidiary of WAV. So it's not just that we distribute products on behalf of Baicells, but what that means is we have those products in stock, ready to ship today, right now. Because there are times where projects just can't wait. We've got the largest stocking position in the industry. So whatever you need, when you need it, we can get it out to you. And it's not just that we've got the CPEs and the base stations and the radios and that sort of stuff, but we have all of the ancillary and complementary items that go with it. You think of, you know, DC power systems, you think cabling, weatherproofing, pretty much anything and everything under the sun. We have and provide those things, functioning as a one-stop resource for you and your business. So we have it all, and we're able to accommodate your needs. But as well, we actually have value-added services. We have a team, a growing team actually, of engineers in-house who have been in the industry over a decade or 2. So very knowledgeable staff. We can help with FCC license coordination, predictive RF analysis, and network design services. So point-to-point, point-to-multi-point path profiles. Low loss coaxial cable assembly. So we actually manufacture and produce custom cabling in-house. The benefit there is it's produced with high quality parts, no tariffs, no fuss, and we're able to design and manufacture those things to meet the specific needs of your project. We also offer staging and configuration services. So we can do all of the configuration, the staging, everything is done in-house. So all you literally have to do is pull the product out of the box and hang it up. Saves you lots of time during installs. And then, of course, we offer a variety of certification trainings, webinars, such as the one you're on today. And I think really the last way we kind of differentiate ourselves is through our financing solutions and options. So for anyone who's in E-rate, we do have a special program with net 90 terms. We do offer 100% financing options, no payment up to 90 days, no money down through institution partners like Leaf. And then we have a variety of other net 90 terms and other things that we can offer. So that means in times of constraint, you don't have to slow down on your projects. You don't have to dial it back. You know, we're able to be a resource in terms of the financial aspects so you can continue to run with your deployments, with your installations, with building out your network and providing reliable connectivity to your customers. So really, I think those are the three things that help us stand out: our inventory position in the industry, our engineering resources in-house, our financing options. But to that end, I think as well, our partnership with Baicells, because we don't have a massive line card, because we don't have everyone under the sun, we're very purposeful with who we partner with. And I can attest to at least this, that our partnership with Baicells, they're an organization that is very much dedicated to helping you solve problems, dedicated to helping you be informed about decisions that you could make to better help you scale your business. And that's why we partner with them and anyone else that's on our line card. So if you've never worked with us before, we love the opportunity to win your business. If we have, thank you for your business. So at any point, if you have a question about what WAV can offer, services, any way we can assist you, please, you know, give us a call, shoot us an email, if you need a quote, reach out. We're here to partner with you. We're here to help you solve problems, and we appreciate having you with us here this morning. So with that in view, I am now going to turn the presentation over to the Baicells team. So it's composed of Rick Harnish and Ronald Mao, and I am going to attempt to give them presenter rights.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like first off to thank WAV, Jamie, Zach, and Norm and their great team there. They've been excellent distribution partners for Baicells, and we are pleased to work with them today to give this webinar. I'd also like to thank Ronald Mao, who has worked with our team, our R&D team, to get all of our equipment up to compliance and so forth with the changing FCC CBRS environment. The rule changes and everything throughout this process has been challenging. And for that matter, this whole year, 2020, I mean, holy moly, what a challenging year, and I'll be glad when it's over. So, and at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ronald. I can get the next slide to go. Ronald, you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you,
right.
Jamie and Rick, for the introduction. And thank you, Max, for helping us putting this together. I'm gonna walk you through the compliance and upgrades part, and I'll let Rick handle the hardest part, which is fears and Q&A. CBRS timeline, as Rick mentioned, 2020 is a very busy, interesting, challenging year for CBRS. Earlier this year, we have this GAA commercialization. So any operators who are deploying CBRS have access to the commercialized product and the network to deploy. And on July 23rd, the PAL auction has started. PAL is the next tier above GAA to give you a more higher tier and more expensive license rights. in the CBRS band. The PAL auction has concluded on August 23rd, which I will talk a little bit more details later. And next month, October 17th, which is a big day as well, the non-exclusive national license transition period will end on that day. That means that if you are on an NA license on that day, it will expire. You will have to transition yourself to CBRS. This slide is a reminder that Baicells have a end-to-end CBRS solutions from core to access to terminals. So if you are looking for a turnkey, ready to go CBRS solutions, look no further at because we have everything. Next slide, please. Here is a list of the devices that we have certified, both FCC and OnGo. FCC certification meaning that equipments are compliant with the FCC rules, but however, FCC's rules is technology agnostic, meaning that devices certified by FCC does not have to be LTE. It can be anything, including proprietary solutions. But however, there's another certification that I want to remind you to pay attention, which is the OnGo certification. That is a specification developed by the CBRS alliances to make sure that your devices is not only compliant with the Part 96 rules, but also compliant with LTE, because CBRS alliances promotes LTE so that to guarantee devices are coexist with no interference. Okay, here again is a list of our devices, including Nova, which is our eNote B product line, and Atom, our CPE product line. If you look at the FCC IDs at the end, you will notice that some of them has N at the end, some of them don't, and this is because that for the devices that has N, we have gone through a recertification to make sure the power is at the maximum. The history of this is because when we were initially certified our devices, we were based on our LTE experience. Our LTE experience is that the enforcement of the transmit power have a 3 dB room, right? Meaning that if you are certified, for example, at 20 dBm, you are allowed to transmit at up to 23 dBm. We used that knowledge to certify our devices. But however, we have learned a hard lesson. We found out that the SAS, when SAS is enforcing the transmit power rules, it only gives you a half dBm room to work with. Therefore, many of our customers, when they were transitioning our products to SAS, they found out that our power was not transmitting at the maximum. That is the lesson we learned the hard way, and that is the problem we have resolved for the most part. The only device that is left to be done is the Gen 1 Nova 233, which is our oldest eNote B models. It takes a little bit longer time because the parts in that model is hard to find these days. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of our eNote Bs, as some of you are already familiar with. Next, please. These are our certified CPEs. On the left is the indoor, on the right are the low gain outdoor and high gain outdoor.
And Ronald, there's Cat 4 and Cat 6 versions of those right now, right?
Yes, yes, there are Cat 4 and Cat 6 versions. Both of them have been certified except for Cat 4 indoor. And Cat 4 is works on a single carrier, and Cat 6 works on 2 carriers, and supporting carrier aggregation give you higher throughput. Thanks for reminding, Rick. And I also would like to remind you that we have an upcoming indoor eNodeB Neutrino 430. It is an ideal solution for indoor coverages such as convention halls, indoor shopping malls, and hospitals, etc. So if you are considering of extending your business, extending your coverage in as indoor environments, this is the ideal solution. And okay, sure. And this works very similar to 436Q, the outdoor models, because they share the same firmware. Okay, now let's. I would like to summarize the PAL auctions we have recently concluded. The PAL license have 7 10 megahertz licenses across more than 3,000 areas county-wise, for a total of more than 22,000 licenses. This PAL license is turned out to be very desirable, and it has raised more than $4.5 billion at the conclusion, and the average megahertz pop is 21 cents, which is very impressive. And the other thing we noticed that Verizon and Dish have spent a combined of 2.8 billions, or 32% of the total. This is a very clear indication that this CBRS licenses are a very valuable licenses for the 5G, because we know that both Verizon and Dish have eyes on 5G.
And Ronald, if I could jump in, I'd like to congratulate all the wireless ISPs that won PAL licenses. It was a substantial amount, and this was really their first opportunity to acquire licensed spectrum other than EBS spectrum. So congratulations to all the put a lot of hard work and effort into bidding for this spectrum and winning this spectrum.
Thank you, Rick. And with the introduction of PAL license, I get asked by our customers that how does the PAL affect GAA? Will I be interfered by the existence of PAL licenses? As I mentioned earlier, if your product are ONGO certified, you do not have to worry about it, because the GAA and PAL coexistence is a function that has been specified at the CBRS alliances. It has been carefully studied, analyzed, and specified so that any ONGO certified equipment can coexist with the minimum interferences. The GAA, for example, coexistence has already been specified, and the SaaS vendors has started implemented them. So again, ONGO certification would give you the peace of mind. Next slide, please. Okay, so we mentioned coexistence. We mentioned the evolution to 5G, and you can get that when you have ONGO certification, because ONGO certification, ONGO promotes LTE, and ONGO has a path to 5G. Besides, yes.
No, I just might mention that you know, this whole process of getting firmwares and hardware compliant with CBRS, that last bullet down at the bottom, evolution to 5G. I want our customers to know that in the background, we have been putting a tremendous amount of effort into producing 5G equipment. I don't think you'll see it yet here in 2020, but in 2021, you'll start seeing our marketing and sales team introducing 5G products. And that is torn, CBRS is confined to the United States, and we make equipment worldwide. So a tremendous amount of our resources was pulled to 5G development, which slowed down some of the process on compliancy with CBRS, but we're just about there. So go ahead.
Thank you, Rick. Another two benefits I want to mention is that the LTE compliance also give you the interoperability advantages, meaning that your network that once deployed has the capabilities to interoperate with any other LTE networks in the world, which is today ubiquitous all over the places. And also you have a large choice of devices. By going with LTE, you're not locked in to a single vendor. You have the flexibilities to take advantage of large availabilities of devices. So I just want to remind everyone that when you are choosing between a proprietary solution and the standard LTE-based solutions, just keep this in mind, because we want your investment of network being valuable, future-proof, and has a path to 5G. This is the migration workflow as you are ready to migrate your NN network to CBRS. These summarizes the onboarding or configuration steps you need to follow. It's pretty straightforward. First, you have to pick a SAS administrator. There are 5 of them out there. You can then choose, and it's up to you to choose the ones you like to work with the most. And you have to get your softwares ready, including our CBSD softwares, which I will talk a little bit more later. Next slide. In the next slide. So the second step is that you need to set up, sorry, Rick, come back, please.
I'm trying. Hang on.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes. I know that I said the next slide as overloaded terms.
There you go. There you go.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. So next step is to, after you have chosen a SAS administrator, you need to get the devices ready, including the eNodeBs and CPEs. And there are user interfaces that you can configure them to from SAS enabled to SAS enabled, and so that your devices are ready. And the third step is to configure your domain proxy, DP in short, right? Because the domain proxy, by the way, is a function that is responsible for interfacing with SAS servers on behalf of CBSD devices. And we have this DP functions co-located on our Cloud Core OMC. And there you can pick. There are user interfaces, again, to let you pick the SAS vendors that you have decided to use. And from there, you can also enable the SAS functionalities for the devices you would like to manage with SAS. And when all these things were ready, you can go ahead and acquire a spectrum through a registration process. And once the spectrum is allocated by the SAS, the SAS servers running a very complicated algorithm to make sure to give you the spectrum that to give spectrums to everyone that's needed in a fair fashion, and also make sure that the interference are controlled. And then you are in the operation mode. The SAS and the CBSDs are in constant contact through a mechanism of heartbeat to make sure everybody knows that the other party is still alive and sound, and the spectrums that has been assigned are in place. Okay, I think that covers the compliance. Now the upgrade. Okay, next slide, please. Baicells is very busy in helping our customers to go through this upgrade process. On the SaaS onboarding, we have developed a rich source of materials to help our customers go through this process. We have developed the SaaS deployment guide, which is available on our website. We have developed many visual and materials on YouTube, and I gave you an example of the SaaS deployment walkthrough right here. And we have given webinars, including this one, and a one that is coming up the next week, jointly with Google. So you're welcome to participate. And secondly, we have here listed the firmwares that are SaaS ready, including eNodeB and CPE, OMC and BOSS. If you are using our cloud core, you don't have to worry about it because we have already taken care of it. I think I have covered everything I have. Rick, it's yours.
Okay. All right. So I'll go over some fears that I anticipate operators have. One of them is our OMC is the domain proxy. And we currently have 2 OMC proxy servers running in the cloud for redundancy. And you can see here's a graphic of our uptime in 2020. We have one little yellow box there that was when we upgraded the OMC last, which was May the 7th. And that happened at 12 a.m. Pacific time, and we were down for 14 months during that upgrade. In previous years, we've had many more outages, doing more upgrades, and had problems with upgrades. So we've refined that process substantially. We basically run a beta OMC for testing purposes for several months, and have some operators using that beta OMC to test features and bugs and all that kind of stuff. So that has helped us tremendously in refining the process. Second point there is during a maintenance scheduled outage, we've basically told the domain proxy to not send commands to the CBSDs during the upgrade maintenance time schedule and or window, and that would prevent, you know, if there's an outage for 15 minutes or whatever, basically there's no commands going to the CBSD to tell them to stop transmitting or anything like that. So you're just giving you some assurance that your customer should not go offline during a cloud core upgrade. Okay, I'm concerned about lower power levels due to FCC certification. Well, yes, that was as Ronald alluded to earlier, that was a problem here in July and August, or June, July, and August, as we got certifications back. We noticed, and our customers noticed, that the SAS was not awarding like 47 dBm EIRP to the radios that were entered into the SAS. So we went through that recertification process on all the devices so far, and you can see the oval in that graphic. We're still waiting on the recertification of the Nova 233 or R9, our Gen 1 eNodeB. just to gain that 1 dB of EIRP. So again, thank you, Ronald, for staying with this and getting us through all this. I'm concerned that, well, let me go back there a second. So I'm just assuring you that all of our equipment is operating will operate at the highest EIRP, and that the SAS will award. You know, as you look through FCC certifications, you see different numbers, and the SAS works on the 10 megahertz channel width, and the testing. It basically, and if there's multiple tests, it takes the lowest test that's in the report, and that's what it assigns to the device. So we had to be careful, and other vendors and manufacturers as well in the reporting. You know, that lowest test had to meet that criteria to get that 47 dBm maximum EIRP. So I'm concerned that all SAS-enabled firmware is still in beta. Yes, there's still some firmware still in beta. We're down to CPEs right now, and beta testing. You know, it's a valuable process to go through because it identifies bugs and lack of features and so forth, and lets the beta testers give feedback on what they're actually seeing in the field in a real environment. So we take that to heart and give a lot of value to the input of our beta testers. So is it a fast process? No. You guys, a lot of the operators are very, very busy. They don't have time to just sit there and test every day, but you know, sometimes those reports are slow in coming back, and we have to, you know, chase them down and say, hey, we're kind of waiting on you to get some feedback. So thank you to all the beta testers out there. If anybody wants to test any firmware, just tell support, open a support ticket and tell them you want to test a certain version, or like the Cat 4 and Cat 6 CPE firmware. Those are the two versions right now that are finalizing beta testing right now. They should be released here in the next week. When will PCI only lock be available? That's in, as you saw in the release notes, portion of the release notes. It's in both the Cat 4 and the Cat 6 versions in the graphic below. And as I said, it should be released next week. It's already been added to the Cloud Core OMC version last July. So we're basically ready to go there. Will dual carrier be supported with the 436Q and CBRS? QRTB 2.4 is entering beta testing now and is expected to be released sometime in the first 2 weeks in October. That will support dual carrier mode with 2 antennas for the SAS. So the 436Q can do single carrier, just 1 antenna. It can do dual carrier with 2 antennas, possibly going different directions, or it can do carrier aggregation mode, which is 1 antenna with 4 ports, so 4 cables going to it. So 4T, 4R. So it's a very good eNode B. It's you know, can cover whatever you want it to do. Did I do that one? Yeah. Okay, that's finished. All I have. Max, do you have some questions for us?
I did not see any questions come in.
Okay, now's a good time. If the audience wants to type some questions into the chat box, please go ahead. Ronald and I will do our best to answer them.
Looks like there is one question that just came in. Max, are you able to see that?
I do not.
Okay.
You might
All
have
right, that's
two.
okay. I'll go ahead. I'll just go ahead and read that just to simplify it. So what's the plan for Cat 6 or newer band 41 CPEs?
Band 41 Cat 6. I believe it's available now and has been. Ronald, do you know any different?
Yeah, band 41 is, I think it's available. It's actually less demanding to have a band 41 CPE than band 48 because it does not have to go through anything like a CBRS certification.
Yeah, I mean, check with WAV and see if it's available. If not, we can special order a certain quantity. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's ready to go as far as the manufacturing process and development.
All right.
Since there's less demand, that I don't know whether WAV carries it in stock or not. So.
Yeah, looks like we have another question here. How will DAS networks play with CBRS private LTE networks?
So they're talking indoor CBRS, right? Distributed antennas systems, DAS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that one. I think, yeah, the DAS is one use cases that CBRS is trying to cover because DAS traditionally is considered an expensive option to provide indoor coverages because it has to rely on the tier one operators to provide the spectrums and also the base station source signals. And with CBRS, you can pretty much replace the DAS with your own private LTE systems. With CBRS, you no longer rely on the spectrum resources from the tier one operators, and with end-to-end solutions, you do not have to rely on the tier one carrier signaling resources. So it is very viable and useful use cases for CBRS.
Looks like we have another one here. Can we use the extra spectrum now or after we are SAS certified?
Well, you do have to have your CPI, your certified professional installer, and I think all of the SAS providers provide CPI training and testing. So if you're to select Federated Wireless or Google or CommScope or Amdocs, just to name a few, check with them on their CPI training and certification. Until you get that, you cannot use the software. I mean the spectrum.
Yeah, the CBRS spectrum give you a full 150 megahertz wide. But currently the NN license, however, only give you a 50. If you want to take advantage of the other 100, you have to get it from the SAS.
Sounds good. We've got another great question here. What is essentially the threshold to WISPs to actually get registered as CBRS/ONGO enabled?
Just buy those equipment. Our equipment are both certified in both ways.
And again, get your CPI training certification and a SAS relationship. That's what you need to do. You'll have access to GAA spectrum at that point, general authorized use spectrum. That is the lowest tier in the tiered system. There's incumbent users and there's PAL users and then GAA users. So the PAL users take out 70 megahertz of that spectrum, but that even if the PAL license is sold in your area, your county, that license holder may not deploy in the whole county. So if the SAS determines that that operator has not deployed anything, that spectrum is still available for GAA. So there's 80 megahertz of GAA spectrum at all times. I hope
Right.
that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. So actually, there's the Joel who submitted that question has a follow-up, meaning have the doors been closed for applications in most areas?
Only for the PAL licenses. That auction has taken place. And as I said, over half of the spectrum is still available for GAA. PAL licenses are also available in the secondary market. In other words, a PAL license holder, if they don't have plans to cover the whole county, can sublease that spectrum in the areas, obviously, that they don't want to use it. So you might look up the PAL auction winners and Joel and see who won that license in your counties that you cover, and contact them and see if what their intentions are and see if they're willing to sublease that. But GAA spectrum doesn't cost you anything other than your SAS fees to use as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let me elaborate a little bit, Jamie. So the whole spectrum access system database, it has all the antennas and all the ENODs and their azimuths and their heights and their down tilts. All that information is in the database. So it's like a nationwide map of every device that's using the spectrum. So it's basically put in place to minimize interference between operations. So if you have an intention of serving a 2-mile radius from a tower, maybe it's a heavily wooded area or something like that, you want to point your antennas down through the foliage, what's the chances of another operator using all 80 megahertz of GAA spectrum in that area? Probably pretty slim. So, I think it'll be the most efficient way to, once it gets going and they get some bugs worked out of it and everything, it'll be the most efficient way to allocate spectrum that the world's ever seen. Is it going to be without challenges and headaches and all that? Probably not. We got to learn this new system, and but I still think it's the way of the future.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. I don't see any other questions, so maybe it's time to transition to the moment folks have been waiting for. How do you win this
Oh my goodness,
free
yeah.
unit? Oh, wait, nope, I spoke too soon. We've got one more question here. Do you see a concern for GAA operating in an incumbent protected zone?
An incumbent working in to say that one more time, Jamie.
Sure. Do you see a concern for GAA operating in an incumbent protected zone?
No, I mean, I don't. There's more of a chance. So your incumbents are basically your Earth satellite stations, which really had challenges with the NN band anyway, operating there, and then Navy radar. So if you're along the coast and the Navy come in as a radar on, the SAS may switch your frequencies to move you out of the way. Those are usually short-term shifts. But I think it's much better than the FCC saying you can't use any of the spectrum if you're within a couple hundred miles of a satellite station and whatever it was, 200 or 300 miles from the coastline. That spectrum was off, you weren't able to use it. So at least this gives you a way to use it and not interfere with the Navy or the Earth satellite stations.
Yeah, and also CBRS Alliance is working closely with the DoD departments to make sure that the incumbent use of the spectrum along the coast are minimal. And they are aware of this problem. They want to make this CBRS spectrum valuable to everyone. So they are doing their best to minimize the incumbent influence.
Mm-hmm. Got another great question here, guys. If you are using GAA spectrum that is not licensed, is there any risk of being bumped by another provider who comes after you? Is there a time limit to using GAA spectrum?
So my advice throughout this whole process has always been, don't make your cell radiuses so big that you're prone to covering such a large area that other operators might infringe on your area. The smaller the cell size, the better your signal strengths to your CPEs, the more bandwidth you'll get. When you start trying to cover large areas, there's more likelihood that scenario will happen where maybe the staff says, yeah, you have this area, you were here first, but we got to fit somebody else in, and we got to turn your power down. And that would only happen if all the spectrum has been used. All right, so there's 80 megahertz, and say you have 40 that you're using carrier aggregation. That would mean more than 2 operators we're trying to cover that same area as you. And the smaller the cells that you have, the less likelihood that will happen. I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do have smaller cells, you could afford to lose a little power and still cover that same area. If you're running max power and you're trying to get out 10, 15 miles, and you lose 3 dB because the SAS turned you down, all of a sudden you're freaking out because you got customers offline. So be conservative with your reach on CBRS devices.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Thank you all so much. These are great questions, and hope that this has been helpful. And that said, if there are questions that you guys have, after this is done, please, I'll speak on behalf of Baicells. I don't think they'll mind. Baicells and WAV, we're happy to help you guys navigate through this. We're happy to help answer any other questions you may have, so don't hesitate to reach out. And again, folks, thank you for your time. Please reach out if you've got any questions. We look forward to partnering with you and helping you navigate through all this. So thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day and take care.
Thank you, Jamie and WAV.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yep. Thanks all. See ya.